The secret to building habits that stick. Doesn't this sound amazing? Doesn't this sound amazing for 2025, especially? I have a brand new class that I am teaching live starting January 6th, and it's called Rewire Your Habits. And it is a science-backed class where I dove deep into the science. I dove deep into the physiology of the brain. I dove deep into what the experts have had to say about the way that we develop, the way that we stick to or don't stick to our habits. What actually happens, because you might be thinking that your habits, you fall short of your habits and it's your own fault, but in reality, the science says it's not. So I've got a great episode for you all about how to build habits that you can actually stick with. So with that, let's jump in and get started.
Well, hey there, I am Jennifer Roskamp, a certified life coach and homeschool mom of 9 who is passionate about helping women just like you embrace the here and now while also being focused on creating the life you actually want. As a midlife mom in her 40s, about to be a mom in my 50s, I've realized that it's so easy to lose yourself in caring for your family, your home, and all the things. Until one day you realize you're not even sure who you are anymore or what you even want in life. So on this podcast, we're going to work on managing yourself well so that you can manage all of the other things and people well too. So let's dive into what it means to manage your home, your time, your family, and yourself well. This is the Intentional Midlife Mom podcast.
So first of all, let me let you know that down in the show notes, you will find a couple of links that are relevant to this episode. And what you will find is a link to grab basically a download of the notes from this class. So if you want to reference back to them, you should definitely take your own notes, but you can have mine as well. So you'll find a link for that. And you will also find a link to join the Rewire Your Habits, the full class that today's little snippet, little preview is coming from. It's coming from the Rewire Your Habits class, and you'll find a link to join us there, whether live or on the replay. You'll find that down in the show notes as well. So with that, let's jump into the secret to building habits that stick. So if you're listening to this, I'm guessing you've tried to create new habits before. Maybe you've started out strong, but you've lost momentum. Maybe you've told yourself, this time will be different, only to end up feeling stuck and frustrated when things actually don't stick. But here's the truth. The problem isn't actually you. It's the way that you've been taught, and I've been taught. It's the way we've all been taught to approach habits. So today I'm going to share one powerful concept that will change the way that you think about habits and give you a simple, actionable strategy that you can start using right away. So by the end of this episode, you'll have everything you need to create a tiny habit that works for you and to see how this process can transform your life. This can be the catalyst to an entirely different trajectory for you. So let's dive in. Okay, so let's talk about first why habits feel hard, right? And here's what I've learned. And actually, as I'm recording this, I'm in the middle of the 75 Hard Challenge. You can Google that. It's not my challenge. I'm actually in the middle of doing it for the 4th time, and I'm taking a group of coaching clients through it with me this time. Today, if I'm not mistaken, is day 22. It could be 23, but we're right in the thick of it, right around day 22. And what I have learned from doing this challenge multiple times is that things can be hard, and we can still do them. But interestingly, we're not wired that way. I mean, have you ever ended up feeling like sticking to a habit is a constant battle? Right? Let's just say you want to wake up earlier. You want to exercise. You want to eat healthier. You want to stay more organized, but something always seems to get in the way. And so here's why that happens. Because your brain is actually wired to keep you safe, happy, and comfortable. And when you try to create a new habit, your brain sees this as a potential threat. It sees this as a potential threat to your well-being. It's a threat to your energy and your comfort. And this is why relying on willpower feels exhausting, because in reality, willpower is very short-lived. You get this burst when you start off, but in reality, it ends up feeling like you're swimming upstream against the current. And what you're actually swimming upstream against is your brain's natural instincts. But here's the good news. You actually don't need willpower to build habits. Let me say that again. You actually don't need willpower to build habits. In fact, you don't even want just willpower. You might want a smidge of willpower right in the beginning, but if you don't have anything other than that willpower, it's not going to work. And this is why you need a system. You don't need willpower to build habits. You need a system. So whether or not you realize it, every habit that you have it's good or bad. It follows this simple loop. And by the way, this habit loop framework, it's inspired by Charles Duhigg's work in his book, The Power of Habit. So if you want to learn more about this, head to that book, Charles Duhigg, Duhigg. All right, so this habit loop framework, here's what it looks like. The simple loop goes from trigger to behavior to reward. And when you understand this loop, you can create habits that stick. All right, so let me give you an example. Let's say that you want to drink more water in the morning. Okay, you want to drink more water in the morning. Well, let's even say this. Let's say that you say, I want to drink more water today, every day. I want to drink more water. It's super smart to hone in on the morning. Why? Because when we start off strong, it allows us to make a lot of headway before the day gets an opportunity to come in and mess up with your plans. Because I don't know about you, but the day life tends to come in and mess with my plans. And so if what we want is to drink more water every day, we're super smart, super strategic, super stealth to focus on the morning. So let's say that we've taken that overall goal for the day and we've, again, done the super smart thing and we've said, I want to focus on drinking more water in the morning. Here can be your trigger. You go to the coffee maker so that you can have a cup of coffee. And while that is brewing, that is your trigger to drink some water. So the trigger is your coffee. It's preparing and waiting for your cup of coffee. That's the trigger. So the behavior then is that while you're waiting for that coffee, you're going to drink a full glass of water. And then the reward is that you feel refreshed and you feel energized, knowing that you've already started your day on the right foot. Before you've had that first cup of coffee, you have already focused on your objective. You've already started working on and working towards and implementing the habit of drinking more water every day. And you've done that by using this habit loop framework, and you've done that by focusing on the morning, because that's super duper smart. And so what you've done is that by anchoring the new behavior, which is drinking water, to something that you already do, and if it isn't coffee for you, maybe it's tea, or maybe there's something else you have to tie it to that you do very early in the morning. Before you do that thing, you have to drink the water, or while you're in the midst of doing that thing, you've got to drink the water. But so you've anchored that new behavior to something that you already have done, or something that you already do. You're giving yourself a small reward. You're creating this habit loop that your brain can very easily follow. Coffee, water. Coffee, water, refreshed. Coffee, water, refreshed. Coffee, water, winner. Because you're already on the road to making that habit part of your lifestyle. So let's think then about a habit loop that works for you. Okay, so here's what you're going to do. I've got a simple 3-step process. Step number 1, you need to identify a tiny habit, super actionable, super doable, doesn't take a lot of time. You don't have a lot of resistance about it. Identify a tiny habit. So think about one small habit that you would like to create. Here's a couple of guidelines about that. Again, keep it simple. Keep it to something you can do in under 2 minutes. So maybe it's that drinking more water. Maybe it's doing a quick tidy in the kitchen. Maybe it's stretching. Maybe it's practicing gratitude. Write it down. That's all part of step 1. Write it down. All right, whatever it is, write it down. I know I have a coaching client who does 15 squats while she's waiting for her coffee to brew. Maybe that could be it. And, she says, I figure I can get that done. It's a great thing. It gets the blood flowing. It gets me doing something. And it really feels amazing. Okay, so write that tiny habit that you want to develop down. That's step number 1. Step number 2, choose a trigger. Remember that habit loop. So find something you already do that can serve as your reminder. You're not relying on yourself in any way to remember because you are tying it, you're anchoring it to something that you already do. So here's a couple of examples. Maybe you could, again, thinking about the morning here, you could do it after you brush your teeth. Whatever it is, you could do it after you finish your breakfast, or you could do it after you hear your alarm. So your brushing of the teeth are the trigger. Eating the meal is your trigger, or your alarm serves as the trigger. So now in step 2, you're going to write down your habit with the trigger. So here's what that looks like. After I trigger, right, whatever that is, after I brush my teeth, I will behavior, whatever that is. So after I brush my teeth, I will drink my glass of water, or I will do my 15 squats, or after I eat my breakfast, I will put the dishes directly in the dishwasher and I will spend another minute and a half tidying the kitchen or something like that, right? After I trigger, you fill in the blank, I will behavior, you fill in the blank. That's step 2. And again, write it down. Step 3, add your reward. So you want to choose something that is positive and nearly immediate in order to reinforce the habit. Choose something positive and immediate to reinforce the habit. And it doesn't have to be a big thing. I think this is what trips people up. They think reward and they think it's got to be this big, grand thing that they allow themselves to buy, or it's this big ritual that's going to take some time, or it's just got to be this big, grandiose thing. And in reality, your brain doesn't need much to feel like it is a reward. Sometimes you can have just super simple things. So here's a couple of examples. Maybe it's putting a check mark on a tracker. In fact, one of the bonuses that comes along, in fact, 2 of the bonuses that comes along with the Rewire Your Habits class that's linked down in the show notes, 2 of those bonuses have a habit tracker in them where literally you're putting a simple check mark when you complete it next to the habit. Sometimes it's just a mental celebration for 5 seconds. Wow, I actually did that. Look at me, I'm doing amazing. You just take a moment to enjoy the results. It doesn't have to be a big deal. So in step 3, you're going to write down the full loop. Okay, so we're going to build on what we just did in step 2. After I trigger, right, you fill in the blank. After I brush my teeth, I will behavior, you fill in the blank, drink my water, and my reward will be a 2.5 minute happy dance or whatever that might be, right? So you're going to write this down. After I trigger, I will behavior, and my reward will be reward. Insert reward. So for instance, here's another example. After I finish dinner, okay, that's the trigger, finishing dinner. Again, I want to just point these different steps out to you. After I finish dinner, that's your trigger. I will spend 2 minutes tidying the kitchen. That's the behavior. That's the habit of tidying the kitchen that you want to develop. So again, you're not necessarily coming up with this in order. You're thinking about what is the habit or the behavior that I want. You're coming up with that first. So if you think about the loop, you're coming up with the middle part of the loop first. So after I know I want to tidy the kitchen. So you're starting there and you're saying, what could be the trigger? The trigger could be that after I finish dinner, or maybe it's every meal. After I finish breakfast, I will spend 2 minutes tidying the kitchen. After I finish lunch, I will spend 2 minutes tidying the kitchen. After I finish dinner, I will spend 2 minutes tidying the kitchen. That's the behavior. And my reward will be enjoying a cup of tea in my clean space. That's the reward. So again, you're going to come up with the habit or the behavior first. 2 minutes of tidying the kitchen. That's the behavior. What can be my trigger? Finishing a meal. And what will be my reward? I'm going to sit down and enjoy a cup of tea in my nice, clean space. So after you're done listening to this episode, I want you to work through all 3 steps. Fill out the habit loop right away so that you have it and you have practice with doing this at least once. The more you practice any new skill, the easier it will become. Know that. So this is just one powerful strategy for creating a habit that sticks. But know that this is only the beginning. Imagine having an entire system to create habits that align with your goals, that align with the life you want to create and the way that your brain works. So in the Rewire Your Habits Class Accelerator, and I'm calling it a Class Accelerator because it is a multiple day event with 2 to 3 sessions each day. This is a deep dive intensive training. So in the Class Accelerator, we're going to go even deeper. You'll learn why habits feel hard and how to make them effortless. We'll uncover the hidden reasons your past attempts didn't stick and how to fix them. And you'll leave with a step-by-step plan to rewire your habits and your life. And the best part is that you'll have lifetime access to the replays. And we are also including transcripts for each session. That is something we get asked for with everything we create. Can we have transcripts? And I get that because I really learn well by reading as well. When I listen to something and then I read it, wow, it really solidifies it in my brain. And so we're including transcripts. And then there are exclusive bonuses, up to 8 of them, to help you stay on track. And this accelerator, it isn't just about building habits. Habits are only the beginning. You building habits that you can stick with is the biggest lever. It's really the accelerant in creating a life that feels purposeful and fulfilling, just one step at a time. So you've already had a little bit of a taste by listening to this episode. Now is the time to go a little bit deeper. So make sure that you check out the link down below in the show notes where you can join me for the entire Rewire Your Habits Class Accelerator. And we can start rewiring your habits together. This time it can be different because we're learning and incorporating the science behind it. Because now you're going to have tools that actually work so that the habits actually stick. I can't wait to spend that time with you inside the Class Accelerator. I will link everything you need down in the show notes. I'll see you there. And I will see you in the next episode in 2025. Let's start 2025 strong and with a strong strategy. Let's rewire those habits. Let's transform your life together. I'll see you soon.